What's going on, everybody? Coach Stefan here. I'm with one of our clients, Rusty, that's only been with us a couple months. I'm really excited to jump on with you, man, and kind of do this chit chat and give people some perspective of how things have been going for you. So, if you don't mind, just kind of introduce yourself to everybody.
My name is Rusty Williams. I have been with Pursuit for just about 2 months now, and I work for the Department of Defense. I'm a robotics engineer in it, and I do a lot of training systems, working with soldiers. And I kind of got into the program because I really wanted to just start losing weight and start getting healthy again. So jumped in head first and I've enjoyed it so far.
Yeah, man. So when did you join? Not very long ago, right?
Yeah, right at the very beginning, the first week of January.
Okay. So it's now March 7th. So
Yep,
like a couple months, 2 months.
yep.
Um, I know we just talked about some of your results, but tell me before we get into the results, because those are awesome. Don't go anywhere, guys. What were your expectations? Because I, vividly remember our conversation, and one of our mutual friends actually suggested him, which Cole, and he
Yeah.
actually brought David Miller in our program. He lost 70 pounds in a year. Crazy. But like what were some of your like goals coming into the program?
My biggest goal was I wanted to get down to a healthy weight. It's like I've slowly been going up and up and up as I've kind of gotten out of college, and like I've never been since I can remember, never really been below 180, and I, I saw him like, man, I've always kind of had this like kind of beer gut type of thing, and I'm like, I just want to look better, I want to feel better, actually be able to do things out and about. If my friends
Yeah.
are like, hey, let's go run, I'm not like, oh, you said the worst thing in the universe,
Yeah.
and actually be able to like kind of do those types of things and have fun with it.
Yeah, no, for sure. So I mean, you've been in for 2 months, you've
Yeah,
dropped 20 pounds.
yeah,
Nuts. And from what you just told me too is like which actually shocked me because a lot of people lose that from a diet, but you said your diet hasn't really changed too much, right?
yeah. The only thing that I've been doing is just get more protein into it instead of
Yep.
getting a bunch of rice and everything in it. It's like, oh, let's just add another piece of chicken in there, and it's like,
Yep.
oh, chicken's great, and it's done a lot.
Yeah. So the protein for sure. So I mean,
Yeah,
there's been some diet changes because I think before you're like, man, I don't really get in a lot of protein. Let's
yeah,
fast forward and say you are getting in 1 gram of protein per pound of your body weight, roughly. Like if you do hit
yeah,
that, that's a huge difference. You probably feel more full, you probably have a little more energy, right?
yep,
Um, but you also were implementing working out, like, and you
yeah,
had basically no experience, right? You never worked with a
yeah,
trainer, didn't know your way around the gym.
yep.
2 months in, how many days a week have you been working out?
I go in 4 days a week, and I've been kind of working with my coach to get it so it works with my schedule because I'm starting to travel now. So like,
Mhm.
how do you do workouts in a hotel when you're traveling,
Yeah.
and keeping up with it, even when you're like, oh, I feel dead
Yeah.
after the day, and just getting 30 minutes in. That's
Yeah.
that's how long each of them are right now.
Yeah. So, I mean, you hope you guys are hearing this. 30 minutes, 4 days a week, didn't really change his nutrition that much. 20 pounds, 2 months, nuts. Um, I'm sure there's been some other changes, right? Like some health habit changes. Talk about, I would love to hear, like, have you changed anything? Like maybe better sleep, cutting back on alcohol. Do you feel like you've had to change anything else or just those?
Uh, just mostly those. I mean, sometimes I'll look at my calories that I've had for the day and I'm like, oh man, I'm like at my limit. I'm like, I'm just gonna hold off on having another beer and just that, or I'll sometimes plan for it. I'll be like, hey, if I hit a bunch of protein in the morning and have really good meals, I
Yeah.
can have an extra beer at night.
Yep. Yeah.
And I fit
And
it in.
for sure, dude. That's actually makes me so happy to hear you do that. And this is why. So many people think that when you try to get in shape, especially, if you have like a good amount of weight to lose, let's just say 30 plus pounds, you're like, man, this is gonna suck. Like I'm eating freaking salads and chicken all day. That does sound miserable, by the way.
Yeah,
Like if that's the only thing. And we don't do that. Like,
yeah,
can you lose weight that way? Absolutely. 100%. But like, how long can you do that? Like, do you want to do it for 3 months, 6 months? You're like, no, basically maybe 30 days. And
yeah,
so So it sounds like what we've done, and you working with Coach Bryce, have helped you curate a plan that obviously you gotta track, you gotta know what you're consuming, right? You can't just
Yeah.
wildly do it because that's what you were doing before.
Yeah.
But now that you actually have some data and we're putting in numbers, you're like, hey, I can actually plan. You haven't cut out
Yeah.
alcohol. You hear that, guys? Like he drinks beer still, which I love beer
Yeah.
too. So it's, he drinks beer and he's lost freaking 20 pounds in 2 months. And it's crazy too, because people will also say, well, man, he's probably going to the gym every day. He's probably running. Nope. Right. And
Yeah.
although that's really, 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 really awesome rapid weight loss, I mean, let me ask you this because I don't know the answer to this. Do you feel like you've been super restrictive or had to starve yourself or anything to lose this weight?
No, like I mean, I'll still make a frozen pizza, but I'm like, hey, let me instead of eating the whole thing like an animal, I'll be like, let me only have like a third of it, and let me cook some chicken and put that on there, and now I've boosted the protein on it, and so it's like,
Yep.
now I just have a chicken pizza, and
Yep.
I can have that.
Yeah. And it's literally calories in versus calories out, guys, right? Like the whole fitness industry will try to scare you into saying you have to eat the most whole clean foods. And I'll be the first to admit that when I first started like trying to clean up my diet, it was portion sizes. And it's a journey. Like for me, it's not that I never eat that stuff, but like the longer I'm in it, the cleaner I want to eat. But we definitely don't expect anybody to come in and just, paleo style day one, like only fruits and veggies and meats. Like that's not it. In fact, if you were to and I've tried those diets. I've tried every single diet. You've probably tried some crazy stuff before, right?
Yeah.
So, it's not that it doesn't work. It doesn't work long term, which means you will lose weight, but you're also going to gain it back. Like, let me ask you this. With the way that you've kind of been eating, do you feel like you could do this like as a pretty long-term thing?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I still eat, as I said, pizzas and other things, or I'll be like, hey, I'm gonna have a really healthy breakfast, get a bunch of protein into it, and make sure it's kind of low calorie, so I can go out with friends later in the night and have that special meal with them where I don't have to be like, oh, let me get the salad at the
Yeah.
place. It'll be like,
Yeah.
yeah, give me the full fat burger, give me the fries.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, I love that. And it's it's planning, really. It's being organized. And it's crazy too to me because adults do this. Like you do it with money, right? You'd be like, all right,
Yeah.
tonight, I mean, like let's say I give you like $100 a day to spend, and you're like, okay, tonight I know I'm going out to this dinner and it's going to cost me $70. You probably wouldn't have a $50 breakfast and a $50 lunch because you're like,
Yeah.
I have nothing left over. And that's kind of
Yeah.
how like your calories are. You're like, hey, and same thing. I go on date nights with my wife. Friday, I have like really pretty low carb, super high protein breakfast. I get in a brutal workout and I go eat sushi buffet till I can't walk. And I guarantee you, I'm still like at my calories. And even if I went over and I was like, oh, I want some sake or something too, I can also wake up the next day, do some intermittent fasting, be right back on. It's you actually have freedom. And I think a lot of people assume from just conversations I've had, oh man, if I start being, meticulous with my nutrition or I start tracking, it's so restrictive. I go, no, it's actually the opposite. You actually have freedom because the time you go out with your friends and you eat, this big burger, in the past, you probably feel a little bit guilty, right?
Yeah.
You're like, man, I shouldn't have done. Like, like, so
Yeah.
it takes out of the enjoyment. But now you're like, yeah, I fully am okay with that. Like, have
Yeah.
you noticed the difference when you eat those things of like just emotionally how you feel too?
Yeah, well, it's like just did travel this week, and it was like I went out with a friend, and I was like, all right, let me just make sure I have the right things in the morning, and then after that, I'll be able to eat any dinner with them. But then it was like the next day, I had catered meals at the place I was at, and it's like I couldn't be like, can I actually get this or this instead? I was just like, oh, they got sandwiches. I just took off the top piece of the bread and I still kept the bottom half on there and all the meat. And it's like, there you go. That's 150 calories gone very
Yeah.
easily.
Yeah, exactly. It's small things. And I always, this is as a coach perspective is like when you have control over your food, have control over it. When you kind of don't, like, I mean, I know when you go out to eat, you have some control, but like
Yeah.
generally it's not the same. When you don't have control, be okay with it. But you'll never
Yeah.
be okay with it when you have the ability to control it. And then you're like, just, throwing a dart in the wind. And I think
Yeah.
nutritionally, that's kind of what you were doing because
Yeah.
you did say, like, what are some things that you tried in the past that you thought, oh man, this might work, but like just didn't work for you?
Like for like diet wise,
Yeah.
um, I guess it was like, oh man, like chicken and rice, let's do that. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh God, like I did that for a few days and I was like, this isn't great. Let me add green chilies in there. Let me make like tacos still. But I'm like, oh, what can I do? It's like, oh, well, instead of flour tortillas, corn tortillas have like half as many calories. And I like corn tortilla tacos. And it's like, there we go. Now I got tacos and it works great. It's just like very small changes, adding lots of seasonings to things. It's not too difficult to do.
Yeah. So just for some clarity, you're saying in the past you kind of tried these like sound like pretty boring restrictive diets and
Yeah.
they wouldn't last very long, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a pretty common theme. Well, I'd like to just last thing is get into the exercise portion because I think for most people it's a time thing, right? Like the number one like excuse that I hear is, man, I'm busy, and I think we're all busy. You're
Yeah.
busy. You have a job that is pretty demanding. You travel a
Yeah.
lot. Um, do you feel like this has been just mentally like a super challenging thing to get in your workouts? Like, did it flip your life upside down or?
Time wise, not really. Like my biggest thing with workouts was like I just dreaded them. I was like, oh, I'll be in pain and this sucks. Like this is a
Yeah.
chore. And it's like I kind of feel like that sometimes, but then I'm working with Bryce now of like, how do we make workouts more fun and make it so I want to go? And it's like, okay, like he added burpees in there. And then I was like, I did a few of them. I was like, wow, I hate burpees. And he's like, cool, let's no more burpees.
Yeah.
Great. I'm not dreading that anymore. And I can do some workouts that still hit those groups, but aren't as tiring. And uh, yeah,
Yeah. So it sounds like he's been working pretty collaborative with you to kind of customize it to you and make sure like a relationship. Hey, do you like this?
yeah,
No. Is this
yeah,
working? Is this not working? Right. And that's a very important part of coaching. That's the process, right? Is this working for you? Like we ask you every week on your form. Hey, dude, is this working for you 100%? If not,
yeah,
let your coach know so we can change it. Are you good? Like we're always looking for those thumbs up because, like
yeah,
you said, if you're dreading it, if it's something you don't want to do, if your diet sucks, it's just a matter of time, man. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And not that it's going to be all butterflies and rainbows. I know you've been putting in the work. Kudos to
yeah,
you. But I mean, from somebody that was like, I don't like to work out, I don't want to eat healthy, to somebody that's lost 20 pounds in 2 months, which is very rapid results, right? We usually, I mean, depends on how much weight you have to lose, but for you, for your body weight and what you want to lose, it's very good. So
yeah,
it just is, hats off to you for being meticulous about tracking, to kind of going all in, right? From the
yeah.
investment to the emotional thing and being like, look, I'm in this. Like I really want to make a transformation. So what would you say your like biggest takeaway? I mean, I know you're only in for 2 months. I know we got a long ways to go, which is super exciting. But what would you say your biggest takeaway is so far, just being a couple months in?
Uh, like still enjoy the things that I like to eat, but just do very subtle things to change them around. You'll be surprised of how much calories just drop off of there. It's like, oh, cut out a bun, and now that's 200 calories gone. Get the nuggets instead of instead of a chicken sandwich, and it's like that saves you a lot. And it's like just little things and learning how to like actually implement them. And it's like okay, like finding cheap, easy to use protein sources is like my biggest thing that I've been trying to figure out, and it's been working so far. And then like going to the gym, it's like I kind of treat myself of like I have an audiobook that I like to listen to. And it's like I only listen to it in the gym. So it's like, okay, if I want to listen to this audiobook, I better get to the gym to go listen to my audiobook and enjoy it.
Love that.
So it's like having little goals for myself to
Dude,
get these done.
that's super smart. I kind of, I need to just reminded me, I need to start doing this again. For a long, long time, I had a 2 or 3 podcasts that I really like listening to. And I did the same thing. I go, you get to listen to them when you walk on the treadmill. And so
Yep.
I would wake up in the morning and I would like some episodes, I'd get a little bit excited and I'd pick anywhere from 30 to an hour long episodes. And sometimes I didn't want to stop the
Yeah.
episodes. I'd keep walking. And I think that that's a really good, like mental thing. I mean, for some people it's podcasts, some people it's music. Like I
Yep.
generally, when I'm at work, I don't listen to EDM. When I work out, sometimes I listen to a little bit of that music. So yeah, it's making it like as fun as it can be, right? Like
Yeah.
even for somebody that you said, hey, I kind of dreaded working out. I don't really like to be sore. I mean, yes, you got to push through the muck of some of that stuff, right? It's
Yeah.
like you said, it's not all just a cakewalk. I mean, I
Yeah.
know you've been pushing yourself in the gym. What would you say um, to somebody that was kind of maybe in the same shoes as you a couple months ago? Like if you could give a recommendation, now you're a couple months in, 20 pounds down, what would you tell that person?
Just make the leap, and it's not as hard as I thought it would be. And I'm like, my workout started really slow. It was like, okay, I'll do 2 push-ups to start with, and then slowly over time, just slowly build that. Don't push too hard, and it's like eventually you'll be doing 20 push-ups, and you're like, oh, it's only been a few months, and now I'm up to 20, and then a few months later, now you're up to 40, and you're like, how did I get up to this? And it's like I'm already seeing that of like, wow, I'm surprised of how quickly it's going up. Even though I'm only adding 1 push-up a week onto my sets. So
Yeah.
it's like little steps, and you'll start to see big changes.
Yeah, I love that, dude. That's good advice. And like you said, it's a compounding interest thing with fitness. We didn't ask you to do anything crazy. We didn't ask you to
Yeah,
do anything drastic. And because we do custom nutrition and training, we did start, right? You were, a
yeah,
beginner. So we kind of started where you felt pretty comfortable. And our job, yes, we got to push you a little bit out of your comfort zone, but there's a fine line, right? We don't want to
yeah,
go balls to the walls and be like, oh, this is the most miserable thing. But
yeah.
I mean, yeah, you're going to see a lot of strength gains, especially in your beginning phases, and that's what you're seeing. And I know Coach Bryce is awesome and has probably been working with you. How would you say? My last question, because I know there's a lot of coaches out there. How would you say the experience has been as far as like communicating with your coach, having customer service? Like, if it sucks, let me know. But how has it been from you from the start to now?
Uh, like most of the time, it's like Bryce is giving me what I needed, and I kind of worked through that. And since I didn't really have any issues, like I went like 3 weeks, and it was just like check in form, did it, and was like, yep, everything all good, no issues. And it's like, all right, they leave you to yourself, you keep doing your thing. But then it was like, oh, these workouts, like I'm starting to get a little bird over them, and he's like, okay, let me change them up a little bit here. Or it's like, oh, we added burpees in there. Oh, I hated those. Okay, let
Yeah,
me adjust that. Let's get that out of there, and let's put something else in to kind of keep them fresh. So like whenever I've reached out and always got it answered, or I'm like, hey, if I'm doing this thing, what does it mean for like max total reps? It's like I'm brand new. What does that even mean? And it's like, okay, explains it out thoroughly of like, okay, so I know actually when to stop and how to do these things.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're online coaches, right? We can only do so much as far as like we're not there with you. And some people feel like that's the barrier, like, oh, but you're not there. Well, here you go. Rusty's brand new.
Yeah.
He's getting his questions answered. It's the apps. Would you say the app's pretty easy to follow, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like the going through the workouts of it having the little videos on like how do you do this, and like I'll look at them, I'll be like look at them a few times, I'm like, okay, I'm pretty sure I'm doing this right. And like even one of them, I was like, I'm still not sure I'm doing this right. And Bryce is like, yeah, send me over a video. I sent
Yeah.
him a video, and he's like, yeah, just adjust your form a little bit here, and it'll kind of help out with like I was having a knee problem of like on a workout. He's like, okay, let's try switching up with this, and we'll get it so it doesn't hurt the knee so much, and you can actually stretch it out and gain strength there
Yeah.
with better
Yeah.
form.
Yeah. I mean, so yeah, I mean, that's important. I'm so glad you brought that up too. People don't understand the level of like how the communication is and how adjustments can be. And I mean, it's to me, it's like having an in-person trainer, but honestly, I feel like it's better because you have the more communication, you have more accountability, you have the education. It is more flexible for sure, right?
Yeah,
It's kind of changed at the drop of a dime. Because if you were to go 2 days a week in person, and then on your off days, you would have been, bro, what do I do? Like, well, what do
yeah,
I eat? Like, you're not texting the trainer. And like you said, you haven't made these huge drastic changes and you lost 20 pounds. I would argue that if you were only do like 1 or 2 sessions a week with an in-person trainer, which is like would have been around the same price, like you would have probably not dropped 20 pounds. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, dude. I really appreciate you jumping on. I'm super proud of you too. Like I asked Bryce, hey, give me some people to do some interviews who's crushing it. And he's like, dude, Rusty's just going, he's going, man. And so I'm really excited. I'm glad that we can work with you. I know you got a while left in this program and this is
Um,
literally just the beginning. So I'm on fire and super stoked for what this, brings for you. And I appreciate you taking time out of your day to jump on and just, I know this video is going to be super helpful for some people watching it.
Yeah. Thank you for having
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, of course, man.